My name's Josh Snyder. You're listening to Thoughtful Discussions, and I have my co-host with me today.
Hello, this is Corey Ochai. How you guys doing? And we are back with another one for you. A good one too. I'm excited about this one.
Me too.
They just learn more about it, you
right?
know? So that's gonna be fun.
I'm excited to hear more about it, and I'm here with. We have two special guests. If you could introduce yourselves.
Certainly, Desiree Vocalo with Local Good.
This is Chris Jesuits with Local Good.
And tell me what Local Good is.
I'd love to tell you what Local Good is. So, Local Good is a website we developed during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. We actually launched it right at the height of the pandemic. So it's local-good.com. Mm-hmm. And we work with artists to be able to help them sell their work. Awesome. And then we give back to charity. But the other piece of it is that we actually work with a lot of the shops, brick and mortar stores that are selling artist work because we really want to help them grow and partner with them so that we could advance those artists.
Very cool. And now, is this local or like a national type thing?
So the intent was to get started in Pittsburgh. I'm not from Pittsburgh. This is my adopted city, and I absolutely loved it. And Chris is from Pittsburgh, and he was like, let's start Pittsburgh.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from New Jersey, but I actually moved here from Kansas City. And I've lived
in
everywhere.
both of those places.
Did you?
I can't wait to get into
it.
Oh,
we need to talk about that.
In Kansas City, Eaton Street, State Line. I was right
way.
there. Absolutely.
Too small of a world.
Absolutely.
But
that's wild.
Yeah, that is wild. But I mean, it's all been good, and it's intended to be national, U.S. only. We really wanted to be able to connect with those artists and really be able to figure out where people are at.
Okay.
And start to be able to highlight the stuff they're doing in their community, which is why it's Local Good.
I love that.
Yeah, but during the pandemic, of course, we had artists find us, and I wasn't going to say no. I mean, there was nothing else going on. So.
Gotcha. So when people come to your website as a buyer, what exactly are they going to be looking at? Just to give an example to someone that's listening, never heard of you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because when you come in, and we'll talk about what it is right now and where we want to go. So the intent was we really wanted to, we kept calling it like the trifecta. We really wanted to highlight the artist, the medium, and the charity that they were supporting, because every artist on the site picks a charity. We donate 5% to that charity on their behalf. And so when we created it, we were like, everybody's going to care like we do, and we're really going to make sure that they're going to know all about the artist, all about what they do, how they do it. Absolutely. They're going to know about that charity. That was the intent, because we didn't want to look like a shopping site.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what's happened is people go in and you can look and see medium, you can look and see artists, you can do all of that, but they don't necessarily go right there. So when they see that front page, people have gotten a bit confused and they're like, well, where do we go? And so Chris, who is the brains behind all of the tech and all of the developments and all of the digital, he is in the process of redoing that so that we do have more ways of being able to showcase it. And so
so like the redesign that we're working on right now is to make it so that when you hit the homepage that you understand that we are selling art. You know, our entire mission is connecting these, the communities of artists to shops and then people to both of them, but we only do that if we can get somebody interested in buying a piece, right? And supporting the community financially, right?
Absolutely. Very cool. And about how many artists are you working with right now?
I think we have 17 or 18.
Okay,
we actually have another one in the wings who is eager to get onto the site, so we're working together to make that happen.
Cool.
We've been very thoughtful to, we want to grow. Of course, we're like, we want sales tomorrow, we want artists tomorrow, but we want to also make sure that we have all the bells and whistles in place to be able to help them.
Yeah.
We also really want to make sure we have good buyers, because that's going to be a big thing, is to have that audience to support those artists.
And I think that's important too, man. See, sometimes when you start a business, you want everybody. But when you want everybody, you get nobody. So directing it towards the people that or that fit your mission, right? So, like, when you attach the charity to it, I think that's beautiful, because that's also helped. So I think your buyers are going to be people that actually tend to enjoy that part as well too. So I mean, I think that's really dope. Where did all this stem from? When did this idea even come from? When did you wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I want to do this?
So I'm not an artist, and when people hear that, they always like, what do you mean you're not? I'm not an artist. I've probably about 10 years ago, I have a teenage daughter. I'm a single mom. And about 10 years ago, I was living in Kansas City. I was actually in Raymore, which is south of the city. It's this tiny little town, and it was only sports. Like, that was it, sports.
Yeah.
And my kid wasn't into sports. I'm not into sports. And I was like, this is crazy. So I started talking to the city about, like, let's do something more. Let's just start creating and doing stuff for the kids. And as I got involved, they're like, well, we actually want to create an arts council. Could you help us?
Yeah.
I had a master's in public administration. I'm like, that's right up my alley. I could totally help you do all that. So
Awesome.
embarked on that.
Okay.
But at the same time, I like to travel, and I was already talking to artists and finding out their story and understanding how hard it was, because they're going around trying to sell their work. They're having to do fairs where they have to, pay out of pocket. They have to go there. They have to pay for the to get to that location, stay overnight, food. And I'm like, damn, this is hard. Yeah. And I kept thinking about what I do at work every day, and I did process improvement. And I was like, how could I make this better? Okay. And that's where it started. It actually started like, how could we get there? How could we actually help apply this to artists? And so that's where the seed was planted.
Okay.
And then I always helped founded the Arts Council, helped founded a public arts program in that city. We helped commission all kinds of great art in the city. Like, we did all these cool things. And then about that time, after everything had ramped up there, I was looking for a new job, and Highmark reached out to me, and I was like, cool, you guys are in Philly. Yeah, I'm interested. They're like, we're not in Philly. And so that all happened. And then I got here, and I thought, well, for sure that dream is kind of gone. I'm not connected. And I happened to be having lunch with a really good friend at work, and I told her what I'd really like to do, because she was leaving the company to go pursue what she wanted. And when I told her, she was like, you got to do that. Yeah. I'm like, there's no way. Like, I have no money. I can't do it. She's like, you're going to go meet Brian. Well, Brian turned out to be Landisberg Design. And then Brian and I talked, and he's like, you're going to go meet Chris. And I can close my eyes and see the meeting and the room and meeting Chris for the first time. And I told him what I wanted to do, and he got super thoughtful. And he was like, we could do that. And I'm like, there's no way in hell. And sure enough, I mean, I don't know what your thought was, is seeing this crazy woman come in and tell you what she wants to do.
You got to be a little crazy. You got to be able to see something that no one else can see,
right?
And be willing to, and you get around people that are willing to do that as well. You know what I mean? And that's where it starts at, man. That's what art is. You say you're not an artist, you are. You're just painting. Your canvas is the world. Well, you know what I mean?
And that's one of my favorite things, is every time Desiree tells this story, or a version of, like a shortened version, longer version of the story, is that she's inspiring somebody else. Like, I'm not joining you on that first day unless you're inspiring me with your vision and the words. So,
right.
Yeah, you're not painting, but you're definitely painting a picture of some sort, right?
You know, doing this artist journey, one of the pivotal moments, and one of the people that really changed my life in this whole process, I was working as a security guard, and there was another person that was working in the same building, and she was going into training to be a life coach. And I was like telling her, okay, I'm about to quit my job, and this is what I want to do. And I'm looking for someone like herself, because I knew she had the skills. She read all the books, she did all the classes, and also she always had something great to say to me. And she asked me, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I want to change the world. That's what I told her. Yeah. And she said, okay, let's do it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I got the right one. Because she didn't hear what I said, and it deterred her, and said, she looked me dead in the eye and was like, yeah, let's do it. Right. Like, if that's what you want to do,
chills right now.
I'm here.
Love it.
And I talk to her twice a month, and still to this day, she's been with me ever since I left the job, to becoming a full-time artist, to building out a TT, to even here. And it's someone I can converse with, talk with, and anything I tell her, she's always there behind me to support me, and also to check me when I'm going way too far.
Challenge and support.
Absolutely, absolutely. We were just talking about that. So having those people in your circle that are just as crazy as you, but also just as hungry as you to see this thing happen, is the most important thing. It's not about the tools. If you got that, you'll figure it out. Right. Because everybody's going that same direction.
Well, I love what you said there about having somebody to check you. Like, it's not in a negative way. It's like, oh well, all right, that's a lot right now. Let's step there, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's not. it's not coming from a place of negativity or holding back. It's okay, how are we going to get there kind of thing? What's the next step?
Absolutely. That's important, man. And that's why all those people you met were people that they are all aligned. All y'all energies aligned because all of y'all have, there's also something that you guys see in each other. And I bet you guys don't just talk about this, you talk about everything else. It's a life thing, Yeah. So this is beautiful. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
So if people go on the website, real quick, what's the website again?
It's local-good.com.
Cool. So if people go on that right now, is there like a newsletter they can sign up for just so that they can stay up on it?
Of course.
I encourage people to do that. Leave a comment if you join the newsletter. I want to see hundreds of comments.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the crazy part too, is like everything we've done along the way we've had to figure out. And
Right.
even our whole process for how we do things behind the scenes, I'm like, we don't have the funds to get a whole team. So we came up with a plan to hire interns so we can give them their first experience like right out of college and doing marketing and doing social media.
Nice.
And it's grown so well, and the person that we have doing the work now, Abby, who's really leading the team, she's been fantastic. Like, she has a great newsletter that we're getting like an open rate depending on the newsletter, between like 40 and 60%.
Amazing.
And that's
What?
when
That's wild.
And that's why I
30%
said
is like high.
well,
Exactly.
Right.
double digits
Right.
is acceptable.
Right.
And so once you're hitting that, and that's what Abby is amazing. But when you talk about like finding those people, the way we even met up with Abby was just nuts. And everybody along the way, even as we were creating this, because of the pandemic, like a lot of people at Landisburg jumped in to help. We had people come and help us from like legal. We had people help us from like branding. We've had so many people who just felt that energy and came, and it was like, I've never had that experience.
That's amazing, man. I enjoy hearing this. And the pandemic has spawned so many artists, man. It's like we're at home, you know what I mean? Like, you have to figure out a way to utilize your time.
Yeah.
So many people fell in love with art during that time. So
I think it also gave. So I own and operate a printing business, and I saw like a big shift in. I think a lot of people that were in the service industry, and that was across a bunch of different things. Maybe they didn't have the time, resources, energy to put into making art, and that's something that they put on the back burner. And then when they were stuck at home, it gave them the opportunity, the time, you know what, I have all these supplies, or maybe they went out and got some, but like it.
Well, they didn't go out and
pushed
get
them.
some. We weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. And I think it definitely changed. It shifted, and it allowed people to focus on it more because they, the whole world stopped. You had to do something, and it definitely it changed.
And there was two sides to that coin too.
Yeah.
I think there was two sides to it. Because there's more people doing art. There's more people doing art.
Sure.
So there's more art out there. So it's harder for you to be seen or somebody finds your work, and because there's so many options, like Netflix. I always say the Netflix analogy. There's so many things to watch. Sometimes you don't watch anything because there's so many things.
Decision
to look at.
paralysis.
Go back to the office
analysis
again.
paralysis. That's
Right.
it. So there's a lot out there which I enjoy, and I think there's never too much art, but it does make it. It does make it harder for you to find your buyer because your buyer's being pulled in so many directions.
So
Unless your buyers are artists.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something that's really so. The entire idea of Local Good is to build this community, and artists do support more artists more than anybody else.
Right.
How hard it is, and the passion you put into a project. So we really, we want to get the person that just appreciates art and loves art and wants to buy a piece. But at the end of the day, we want to really foster this kind of self-completing community, where a few of the visions that we've talked about over the years is, making sure that it's a hyper-local network where if you're into woodworking and somebody else is into painting, is there a way that you guys can collaborate on a piece or whatever that looks like? And really just have people be more supportive in learning and training. And maybe somebody that's a framer and that you can get like custom-made frames done for your pieces.
Absolutely.
We really just want to close that loop and get all these people connected. So
Like a collab market
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that's still sharp and steel, man. The collaborations, I think, are the key to elevating what you're doing, the message you're trying to convey in the outcome of your art.
Mm-hmm.
It really, you only can go like we always say this on this podcast. If you can do something by yourself, you're not thinking big enough. You're not dreaming big enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you can accomplish a goal by yourself, you are absolutely not dreaming big enough, because it can go so much bigger if you get the right people around you, bouncing those ideas off of like-minded people, like-minded artists. That I think it's the key. It's the key. You can't do it by yourself. You don't want to. And it's so much more fun. It's so much more enjoyable when you got somebody else to bounce these crazy ideas off of, and they understand your nonsense and your shenanigans. You know what I'm saying?
We've been doing it. We'll have our own little meetings and whatnot, but if you have someone that has an expertise in something and you're able to kind of bounce off someone else, you can take 10 years of knowledge from them in just a few minutes.
Yep.
And be able to just kind of knock those things back and forth. So those brainstorming sessions are super important.
Well, and honestly, that's part of our process. Like, I tell people all the time, like, you could go to Etsy. I hope you're all on Etsy. Like, fine, that's a good place to sell. You should, as an artist, be on multiple platforms. You absolutely should. More importantly, though, you should be with people who are going to want to work with you. And so our process it's not open. Like, you can't just come and get an account. The process is, you're going to end up talking to me, most likely. You're going to then, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to make sure that you have the right, the same kind of mindset, same kind of vibe. Because I've turned away people, and I shouldn't even say turned away. They've turned themselves away when I say, this is a community, and we want you to be involved. We want you to be engaged. We want you to connect, because we actually create marketing for them. We do some social media for them, and we want it to be involved. We want people who want to be there. And if you're just there for self, this isn't the right place for you. There's plenty of places you can go for that. But we really
it's hard to sell on Etsy.
It's so hard, and there's so many new platforms.
But this was the moment where I was like, oh, we gotta get you on the podcast. You said this when we were on the phone. We had a conversation, and when I heard that was the most intriguing part to me. It was like, we also curate the list of artists that we would like to have kind of come together, because it's important to have like-minded people, and make it. There should be a level of entry. There should be you should have some type of equity in the process, like where I want to come in, but I want to come in not, like, I don't really, tell you the truth, this is going to sound crazy, I don't really care too much about selling as much. I want to create. I just really like to create, and it's something that actually makes the universe make sense to me. It makes the world make sense to me. So when I'm around other people that are more concentrated on that aspect, I see them selling, that's cool, but I need a community of artists that just about the creating thing. Not every artist is in it to make money. I don't. I have other things I can do for that. Like I keep mine, there. But I love the aspect of a community, like of artists, sitting down, creating. We can show the work. That's great, and we can do all that. But it's the creating aspect. How do I navigate this thought and this style and this process? Like, that to me is the thing that gets me up and gets me going. And of course, money is a part of it, but it's not the biggest part of it. Like, to me, that's the biggest part.
That's so in line with everything that we've talked about, because even when we're trying to talk to the artists, we're trying to get them to say, like, don't just upload pictures of your work. Upload pictures of you working on it, your process. We want to understand the story behind it. Tell the story of, just how you just before this, you walked us through some of your pieces. People that connect to a piece and understand where you're coming from, that's a much more important thing than going on a faceless website, something with thousands of artists and no story. You want to know what the thought was, and not it's just like this pretty piece, right?
100%.
That's where I'm at too. I'm trying to up that game. Is like letting people in more, but in the right way. You can't. I don't want to do it the way that I see it done a lot of times. That's just not comfortable for me. But I'm thinking about now starting the website and those type of things. So just hearing you guys talk about it's just really intriguing.
There's so many different ways of storytelling, and I think it's important for each different person to find what they're comfortable with. Like for you, it might be podcasting, and it might be like a long form video of you doing an art piece, or being able to show someone, or showing someone else an art piece, having like a camera over your shoulder, I think that might be really good for you, where other people, might be able to write about it or blog about it or whatever it is. There's definitely, it's not one size fits all, So,
Yeah.
Sorry, you're about to say.
No, I totally agree with that. But the other piece of it is traditionally people would do, you would be meeting somebody at a gallery, at an art fair, at an event.
Yeah.
But now with the way things are done, you have to have an online presence. But how do you get to a place where you can still bring the human element to it? And that's really what we're about, is saying, just like you were articulating, how do we tell the story? Is it a video? And we're set up, we're on like 6 or 7 different platforms, because if people want to do something, we're starting to do videos and we're putting up on YouTube, or we're taking snippets of it. We've even been embedding stuff in LinkedIn. And people are like, why LinkedIn? Because the buyers are there. The people with the money are right there. Right. And if they then like it, they could go follow us on Instagram. And if they're liking us on Instagram, maybe they see us on TikTok. Because at the end of the day, we know it's going to take a few different places to be able to capture people's attention.
Meet your market where they are.
Yeah. And the other piece of it, though, back to the human piece, we ask every single artist about themselves, get to know them. But we also want to know why. Like, what's their goal? What are they seeking? Because I can't help them get where they want to go if I don't know where the hell they want to go.
Absolutely. Before you solve a problem, you got to understand it first. Like, where are you having your issues? Where can I bring value at, instead of telling you where you need it?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I get it. That's beautiful.
The funniest thing is that I've seen with the artists is a lot of them do have a hard time talking not only about themselves, but positively about themselves and how they... Like, if you gave them all of the money in the world, they still would be like, okay, well, how do I communicate my mission? So to have somebody like Desiree come in and talk to them, it kind of shakes some of that loose for them, because they're able to, like, similar to what you were talking about, just bouncing something off somebody and getting that feedback loop.
Right.
So it's less about even, having the website and having Desiree be able to talk them through.
Yeah, I mean, you can't solve a problem if you can't understand it, and you got to communicate a lot of times to understand it. You got to have it's a different conversation when you're talking with a creative, right? Because it's like we feel everything. That's why a lot of times we're able to paint. And able to be creative. There's a book by Rick Rubin, The Creative Being, I believe is called. I have it over there. Amazing. Talks about artists, and the reason we love doing art is because we're very empathetic. We go off of emotions. So sometimes hearing something a certain way, we got to feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you say it may need to be passion. There may need to be different tones. Like, words just don't do it. There's so much more involved in it. And I don't think it's just creatives. I think it's just there's a way that we communicate that you kind of have to understand the dialogue. It's like a different language. But speaking with different creatives and knowing how there's a common thread between all of us and anybody in general that creates, but just knowing how to actually tap in to that, whatever they need to be tapped in to get them to motivate them to move. Right. It's different. I mean, it's hard enough to get an email back from us, so let alone try to get us to sign up for something or do this, that, and the other, right?
And collaborate.
Yeah,
be a part of that community.
Yeah, it's different. It's different, man. Different things get us moving.
Yeah. Well, and you show up differently when you have the people around you. Right. You show up differently when you know people are cheering you on. And even when I reach out to artists, like there's one artist on the site. She is going to get her degree in like psychology or psychiatry, and she's pursuing all that, and I know that, and so I reach out to her every once in a while to see how she is. And I reached out to her the other day. She's like, I'm sorry, I know I was looking at the site, I got to put stuff up. I'm like, that's not what I'm reaching out to you for. You have your test coming up. She's like, you remember? I'm like, yeah. Right. Like, you have your test. And so I reached out to her like the morning of, was like, good luck. Reached out to her later that day. She's like, I passed. And she was so excited. But that's it. You get to know the person first. You get to know the human. Then you get to know the artist. And then you figure out where they want to go and you help them get there. Right. It's not that hard, but there's not enough people who really care.
Yeah, because art's just a residual. Yeah, you're right, because art's just a residual of life, right? So if you care about the life, the art part becomes, that's the residual of what they're going through. So that's beautiful. All right, another question I have. So it's one thing to create the formula for the artist to follow once you get an understanding of them. It's the execution part. Them posting on the site, those type of things. How do you train them to do? How do you influence them to do it? How do you teach them how to do that? Like how does that even work?
So going back, seeking first to understand.
Yeah.
So I figure out what they each need and understand where they're at, meet them right where they are. There have been some artists that literally, one of the artists, Mike, didn't even have all of his stuff photographed. Right. And so I was like, all right, let's make sure we get you some photos. Make sure we have all that. Okay. We have another artist, Cheryl, who I work with, who she's not technically savvy. And she's like, I'd love to be on your site. I don't know how to upload or do any of it. I was like, send me the files. I'll take care of it. Okay. But there are others who are really good, and it's just a matter of giving them space. And some of them, like if they get stuck somewhere, everybody gets my cell number and they text me. And it's like, and they know I don't sleep. I mean, that's how I get shit done. I don't sleep.
Really how it works. After we leave here, I got to make some gallery cards. I know exactly how it works. Finish lines in the loop. There we go.
But yeah, you figure out what people need, and it's not permanent. And some people, they almost apologize like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much time. We really give them permission to have space.
Right.
And whatever that means on the site, in our world, whatever that means, we connect them to whoever they need to get their stuff done. Okay. And that's what we've done. And that's different than anybody else, because most people are like, well, if you have this, this, and this, and then you could come here. It's like,
right.
No, show up as you are.
Yeah.
Well, and that's largely what we've done with the social media team, where in that we're not just marketing like, hey, purchase this thing. We're marketing the artist and their art and what they're doing, events that are coming up, because for artists that might not be as comfortable with, that self-promotion, maybe they don't, oh, why am I self-promoting? They're like self-deprecating. They don't think they should be putting themselves out there like that.
Right.
All right, well, then let us do it. We have a team that can do a little bit of that for you. Hopefully, over time, we're hoping to put more and more people in that role so we can, help artists where they need to, posting videos, stuff like that. But it's really just about meeting them where they are and trying to bring them along.
And getting that story out there, like you were saying before, you had to be in a gallery for people to start to notice you. Now it's like you need to have your story out there before you can even get in the gallery.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So there's definitely been a flip. Absolutely. And being able to help the artist, put them in that space where they have some notoriety and they're part of this kind of group.
But and I don't want to keep talking about like future state stuff.
No, yeah,
because we have these visions that because it's basically just me and Desiree.
We'll come back in a couple of years, listen to this episode to see how we did,
how far we made it. But part of the site is art shops, so galleries. Even if it's a full-fledged gallery, right. Or if it's hey, we do showings at this coffee shop or at this event space. And what we want to do is be able to tap into those and say, okay, well, because we're not trying to say galleries don't exist, come online only.
Right.
We're trying to build that community. So, okay, come on our site and bring all of your artists with you, right. So that we can get people back in person into those galleries. And I always, this is something that I say just almost in every aspect of my life, is I always want these things to be closed loops, right?
Yeah. Right.
So like you get the artist, you get the art shops, you get people purchasing in it. It's self-fulfilling, right? It keeps kind of going around. And we just want to facilitate that. We don't want to get rid of one or the other, but getting everybody together and closing that loop, so to speak.
Gotcha.
So how did y'all get this going? How did y'all get this funded? Like how does that start?
Where's your wallet at?
How is this sustainable? Like that's what I want to know. Like how does that even? How can this be something where it could be like you said, I forgot what you said about self-sufficient. Yeah. How does that work? What's the business model?
So, we obviously do charge commission. We have to charge commission in order to keep going. Yeah. And we do the donations and everything else as part of that. So we really do try to make sure we're giving back. But it started with me funding it. Like I had this idea and I was like, it's never going to happen. And then when I met Chris and then we worked out prices and I was like, I don't have any money and I don't know how I'm going to do it. Well, the crazy thing is and this is why I honestly believe you can manifest anything. Okay. I showed up in Pittsburgh and I got hired in at one place. my life got turned upside down, and I was like, I'm in so much trouble. I don't know how I'm going to survive. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. I don't know how I'm going to do anything. And within months, I got a promotion. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to use that money to start funding what I want to do. And then I was like, all right, I'm not sure I have enough. And then again, I got another promotion. I've been promoted 3 times since I've been here in 5 years.
Oh, you're really good.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
sleep.
No,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
sleep.
sleep because I don't have time. I've got goals and I've
Yeah.
got a community I'm
absolutely.
trying to help. And so the crazy part though is as I'm doing this and I'm keep getting more money that's helping me fund this, that's where we were getting more people who were like, we're there for you. And even now, I've got the interns for the marketing and for social media. I have 4 amazing women who are like, we're there and they're helping.
Yeah.
And Abby has been killing it. Like, she is amazing.
Nice.
And she's just coming up with new ideas and coming up with new ideas. And every single intern, now we've had like, what are we on, like 4 or 5 rotations?
4 or 5 rounds.
So
yeah.
the way we do it
Wow.
with them
So-
is we bring them in. We're like, we find the different people who do different things. We bring them in. The first rotation is unpaid. And we're like, this is a chance for you to work with us to work with you, get to know you. And then the second rotation we do pay. And we've perfected this. And that knowledge is transferred to each of them. So we're giving these individuals their first shot at a job. I'm like, when we're done, I will open up my network. I will connect you to whoever I can to help you get a job.
right.
We will give you a recommendation. We will do referrals. We'll do all of that. I can't tell you how many people we've already helped get jobs.
Nice.
You know,
That's-
because
that's
we've
good.
built that. And they're giving us their time and energy and putting it into here and pouring in. And I'm telling you, pouring in, the artists love it. They do interviews with them. We do blogs with them.
Love it.
We do videos. Like, we really do put all out there.
How long has this been going on? How many years has this
3.
been existed?
Well, so the site, we were kind of in our beta that,
Yeah.
you know, 3 years ago. So 2 years, probably 2 solid years right about now.
That it's actually been up.
Yeah, that it's actually been up and running. And
Yeah.
and honestly, at this point, there's still stuff I'm funding, you know, but
Absolutely.
it's not
Nearly as much as
no,
what it
not
was
at all.
before.
Not
I
at all
got
where
you.
we started.
Well, and this is something that, you know, because we have all these grand ideas and we're kind of all, me and Desiree will check ourselves like, oh, are we getting too far ahead of ourselves?
Right.
We might have to reel it back, but we're really in a place right now where we do want to get that critical mass of artists on the site.
Right.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, the more artists we have on the site, the more pieces of work, the more word of mouth we get,
Yep.
the more traffic, the money will come.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
the one thing, like, Desiree's been funding this out of pocket for a number of years, but never once has the focus been like, we've got to make money tomorrow. That's not the
Right.
mission here.
Right.
So, like, you get a raise, you put money back
Yeah.
into the company, we grow it some more, we help some people out.
Yeah.
Eventually, we do believe that, you know, we get the artist on the site, we give them the resources they need, and it will get to that point, that tipping point where, okay, cool.
Okay. Like, how do you measure the success for the artist besides the money? Like, how would you measure that like, where do you see, when do you get confirmation that, okay, this is actually everything we need it to be? Has that avatar been created where you thought about that, what that person would look like, or where that person
I have an
would be
idea
at?
for that, but I want to hear yours.
Well, no, I want you to go first. I check in with the artists themselves. So, like, Cheryl Williams, who's on the site, she's been a practicing artist for many, many, many years. And her and I, from day one, we just had this crazy aligned energy. And she's out in Utah. I haven't even met her in person yet.
Oh, wow. You really are, okay.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. The universe brought her to me. Like, it's crazy if I told you the story. Like, some of the things that have happened, you cannot tell me we did not manifest this, because there's no way all of this should have come together. But I check in with them, and there are days where I'm like, oh man, we're not doing this, or we aren't doing that. And she's like, look at all the things you figured out. And so I try to remind myself that at the end of the day, I didn't do this for the money. I did this for the community. I did this to make sure that we did have a level playing platform for all these artists. I did this so that we could bring these shops in, because they're going out of business at alarming rates. But we've had to figure everything out. Like, we had to figure out, how do we build a site?
Man,
How
that's
do we do social
interesting.
media? How do we make sure we have space for the artists? How do we make sure that we have space for the shops? We have a whole company who facilitates our giving program. We don't do that. There's a company called Daily Karma who's out of California. We happen to get connected to them through a friend, and they were like, do you happen to have a sandbox for doing
That's
stuff
so
with
cool.
WooCommerce? And I was like, we do. I'm calling Chris going, holy hell, how
Man,
long
that's cool,
before you
man.
put that up? But we got all this stuff because it kept coming. So
Yeah.
I measure our success, but what's the next problem we got to solve? What's the next problem we got to solve? And when we get it all stable and when we actually have it captured, documented, we know all the dance steps, that's where I know I'm good.
Got you, man. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you're talking about different states, so my mind is opening up because for some
Yeah.
reason I'm only thinking about like where we're at
Pittsburgh.
right here.
Yeah.
No.
And so it's like, oh,
I
we
mean-
got Utah, we got California,
Colorado,
Colorado,
future
Kansas
state
City,
again.
in
Yeah,
Missouri.
I
We
love it.
we want to build this place where okay, I'm an artist in Pittsburgh, but I'm going to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Do I know anybody out there that's on the site? Is the site representing anybody out there? Because they're going to be like-minded like me.
Yep.
Can I plan an entire trip by looking at local good shops and artists in a city? And there'll be a map component so that you can actually do that. And of course, you can find all that on your own by Googling, where's the art scene, trying to find it that way. But
Yeah.
who better than have the artist tell you,
Yep.
go to this gallery. This gallery is exactly the type of work that I do, and it
Yeah.
represents me.
That's dope, man. I'm just thinking as an artist, kind of signing up with you guys. Is there a possibility that my work would be in one of the shops in Colorado? Is that how you guys
Yes.
tend to connect the dots for them?
Yeah, the idea that we're hoping for is that, for every shop that comes on, they can bring whatever artist that they want on board with them. Obviously, they have to get the artist's approval and get the artist to sign up. But there is that connection. There's the connection saying, hey, this shop over here has 5 artists on local good.
Right.
If you go to this artist page, they might have 5 shops that they're working with, or that galleries that they have work
So
up at.
does the shop usually go through y'all catalog to pick the artist's work that they want at their shop, or do you guys kind of say, I have somebody who kind of fits your style?
That's what
Like-
we've been doing so far, but what you're saying prior is where we want to get to.
Okay.
Right now, the way that all worked, and the shops just came on this last year.
Okay.
The intent is that we want to make sure that we're helping those shops grow. And so we're like, come onto the site. Let's make sure we got some, some connections here. Let's make sure you have some artists that we're working with and all of that. But we want to get to a place where we know that you and I have been to Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Chris hasn't. Well, you
Yeah,
might have been
I
to
worked
Kansas
there a
City. All
little
right,
bit, yeah.
bad one. But
Yeah.
what if you haven't? All right, there you go.
There we go.
So you haven't been to Kansas City, so we want to make sure that we're getting to a place where we can represent it. That if you're like, you know what, I am going to Kansas City for the weekend, you have that opportunity to connect in as a buyer, because you might not ever come to Pittsburgh, but you're only in Kansas City, or vice versa. We want to make sure we make it easy that you could then find that artist. And that artist might only ever be shown in Pittsburgh, but suddenly because of the connections with us, we could then make sure we're getting them in Kansas City. We're getting them in Utah. We're actually expanding out that community to make it easier so that they have a broader audience that they would not have had prior.
I love that. John, I know a guy that prints.
You asked me something before we got started. What was your question? Do you remember?
I was like, all right, let's talk about this print company, because
Yeah.
I obviously have some needs, but I wanted to understand a little bit more about what you're into.
Yeah, so we have been printing in April of 2024. It's going to be our 10-year anniversary. So I know
Nice.
it's only, thank you. And I've been printing professionally for 20 years. So it's been a lifetime passion of mine. Entrepreneurship is also the passion as well, and I've been able to help other people kind of do their startups, and I think that this podcast and helping other people is that's definitely a piece to the puzzle of kind of how I'm doing and what I'm doing it. And the print shop has been a huge key component. And when the pandemic hit, like when you started, we changed from offering like poster prints that we would send out to a sign shop to bringing that in-house and getting the wide format machines. And when we did that, we did something a little bit different. We kind of studied what the best machines specifically for fine art printing would be. And all the other print shops in the area are all doing signage. And so they just want quick, low quality printing to just like get stuff out the door. And we got the best printer that you can get for this type of thing, the widest color gamut, We wear gloves when we're doing our printing. We ship everything very securely so that we don't have to do it again. And in doing so, we've actually connected with different museums that we print for. And we recently became, we're the only printing members of the American Alliance of Museums, which is a nonprofit that actually accredits museums. So it's very prestigious, and I'm getting chills right now.
That's great.
It's really cool. We actually took Corey with me.
Absolutely, Colorado. Shout out to Colorado, man.
We had a lot of fun there.
We had a blast.
We had a booth, and we got to meet over 100 different representatives from museums all over the country.
Really? All over the world. All over the world.
Wow.
I mean, we
that's
had
true.
people
Yeah.
in New Zealand.
Right.
I mean, there was a guy who just did a David Bowie exhibition in, I don't know if it was Spain, if it was.
I think it was Spain.
It was somewhere.
But he was
like
from
that.
London.
wow.
I ended up
Yeah.
shipping him some samples.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So the connections we made there, I felt like I made my money back from that in the first 5 minutes. It was just astonishing to be able to, sit at the table with these people that were doing this, and it wouldn't have happened if we didn't put that investment into what we're doing. And another kind of note is that the way that the colors work is with CMYK, you have 17,000 colors that it can print, and you can never get any brighter than cyan or yellow or magenta. So all those highlighter colors kind of don't exist. The deep reds, deep blues, it can try to do its best, and we run production copy machines, and we offer all sorts of other types of printing that just can't quite hit all that color gamut. Mm-hmm. When you have a monitor, it's using RGB, and the difference is 17 million colors, and so that's 1,000 times more color. And the printer that we have, it's a 12-color process, and it has red, a solid blue, double gray, double black, and CMYK. So it's able to print in more, but the file format for CMYK, it constricts those colors. But also, so when you have a RGB file, RGB files can hold all of those colors. And usually when you print, it kind of dumbs it down so that it can print it in CMYK. What our printer does is it processes the RGB files, so it has the millions of colors available to process, and it will print out as many of it as it can hit. So the technology that we have is
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, do you find that you have to train a lot of people, and like, you can give me the RGB file. You don't have to work in CMYK.
We can take both kind of files, but so everything comes in through our website, and we have we try to have a robust instruction
Okay, cool.
on there for people to be able to do it. But when you get art photography done, those files are RGB and RGB. Mm-hmm. When you make something on Procreate, or if you're doing something in Photoshop or Illustrator, the default setting is usually for RGB, and especially if you're doing stuff for web, it's all RGB.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of make that conversion, and people that have been printing for a long time, definitely they'll send.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Probably.
And if they do, they're gonna get what they were expecting, but it's still gonna be, the colors are still gonna be coming from those solids, and you will end up with better color results even from one printer to the next.
Yeah.
So we've kind of put that to the challenge, and we've made a lot of headway there. So I'm excited to. We have different Etsy shops and stuff like that where we partner with, where they send us their orders, and we can connect to their stores so that we're able to process their orders on a more automatic basis. And so
you know where I'm going.
That's exactly what
that might be a key to your space, it's a really cool way to work with. We have about 7,000 customers that we do printing for.
7,001 maybe.
Yeah. And of those, definitely not all of them are printing fine art and photography, but a good majority are. I would say over 2,000 that are doing it, and it's a good, and we're doing it all over the country.
Yeah. And that's a huge piece of like we've talked about this in the past too. Is if you're selling a print, how hard is that for an artist to, I got an order, now I have to stop what I'm doing and I have to go get the print and maybe get the mat and the frame.
Yes.
And you have to go through all that process.
Absolutely.
But we've talked about how can we simplify this so that, the order can come to a shop as specialty that is as special as yours and get this high quality, something they trust.
Right.
And then ship it out for them and take that, once again, giving the artist this tool, right? Something else,
Absolutely.
another arrow in their quiver, so to speak, so they can produce the art, make a living off of it. Right? Yeah.
Well,
Right?
and more importantly, because we know there are big companies that do it, I was like, we don't want to go to one of them. So
yeah, and the difference is, so it's just my fiance and I working at the shop, and so it's not just that and we're both artists as well. It's not just the owners are seeing every print that goes out the door, but the owners are actually making every print that go out the door. So there is a difference in the quality.
Yep.
They're looking at it too with an artist's eye.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate as an artist. Like that's why we go to Josh. Like when you want it printed and you want it printed right, and you have the artist's mind, you have somebody who like we were talking about, somebody who understands the creative.
Right.
He speaks the language. So it's like, if you see it, he will see it. I've literally walked into the shop and I didn't know people really wear gloves when they do that. This man has gloves on and he's like, I can't touch it because unless I put the gloves on, but it'll be showing me this, that, and the other. This isn't red enough. We're looking for this. We're looking for that.
I'm like, I need this blue. I probably wasted
that blue.
40 feet of material just trying to get this blue to come out right. And
and then
when it finally did, I'm like, look how juicy this blue is. Like, you can't print this blue.
Right.
And
That's what I mean.
It was good, right?
It was perfect. It was everything. And actually, people were commenting on that was in Colorado. I know exactly which one you're talking about, and there was a difference. I mean, at first, I'm like, Josh, that's the
blue.
same blue. And then he came, and then when this blue came, when he actually got it, and I seen it, and we looked at both of them. I said, okay. I get it. But that's what it means. You don't know until you know, and when you do, you can't stop seeing it. It's like the whole new car thing. You get a new car, before you got that car, you never seen it. When you hop in that car, now you see it everywhere.
Yep.
It's like once your mind is open to the idea that it can be this,
Right.
you can't help not to see it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
As the developer of local good, I'm ones and zeros. I'm very into.
You're the Matrix.
I'm right there with Neo. But I see things in very exact terms, but not always a designer's eye. Like I love the designers that I work with in my day job because they approach things with such intention.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm trying to take something from design to code, I do it very specifically because I want to hit the artist into the designer's intention, right? Like they put a color, a dot, a line exactly where they want it, and only they know why. But there was a reason, right? There was a reason that there's this attention to detail and this level of craft that not everybody sees.
Right.
Not everybody sees that blue, even though it took you like 40 feet of material.
For real.
But you knew what blue you were looking for and why.
Right.
Yeah, it's so passionate you wouldn't stop until you got it. You know, there's this. I think the most powerful thing in the universe is the human soul on fire for something. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I was going to ask, because that's when I can identify if I'm around my tribe, like the type of people I want to be around. How do you guys identify, like what's your checklist when you're talking to an artist to know if they're going to fit or not? I know there's one where if you're for self, then this may not be the area for you. I can direct you to a place that is, because I know you're not turning them away. You're just directing them to somewhere that can actually help them for the needs that they have. But how do you guys really go through the process to really say, you know what, this is somebody I feel like can fit in our system that we've developed? I know it's a lot of words to say. How do you pick them? You know what I'm saying? I've been truly trying to get there. How do you pick them?
It's an interesting question because even when I started this, I almost didn't start because I kept thinking, how could I choose? Like, I'm not an artist. How could I choose? I don't, and I've told everyone, I don't want to be the arbiter of the taste of anybody. Like, that's not my goal.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the artist, more the artist.
It's the artist. And that I'm good at. That I pick up on people's energy immediately. And that's maybe, even you and I, when we first start talking, we're like, talking and we're getting to know each other.
And then
and then suddenly the energy just starts ramping up, and the energy ramps up, and you connect, and it's that connection. It's when you're floating on the same wavelength, when you have that same feel, you click. And I've always had that. I couldn't understand it when I was younger. And then as, a little bit more experience, a little longer in the tooth, I started to get to a place where I could feel it. I could feel it with people. The minute I laid eyes on Chris, I was like, yep, that's the guy I'm going to be working with. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's going to work. And you and I in that first conversation, like you mesh and you have this connection, and it happens that way with artists every single time. And then we end up having these random conversations, which is part of why we started recording stuff, just like you're recording a podcast. Absolutely. I started saying, I'm having great conversations with these artists, I'm not recording it. And that's when it hit me like, well, I really need to do that, because it is that connection, and that's that energy that you get from people. And that's what I really want to bring to the site, because let's be honest, what's online isn't real.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want a curated approach. I don't want the fake face. I don't want that. I want to really bring that real connection, because that's what we're missing. And that's really what the pandemic showed me too, is that people are hungry for it. Let's be honest, I'm in healthcare. People are lonely. It's a huge problem. People are more connected but lonelier than ever. And they really, really hunger for that human connection. And that's when I find that connection with that person, and then I take a look at their art, and I'll show their art to a few other people, and when everyone's like, yeah, this feels right, we're like, let's do it. That's the person. And I've never been wrong. No, I shouldn't say that. There was one person in the very beginning who I didn't know if she was ready to be on the site, and I didn't tell her no. I said, I'm not sure, you're just starting out. And she said, okay, I'll come back. And I feel bad that I didn't just say, no, bring you on, we'll figure it out together. But that was so new.
But that's a learning experience for you.
And
now you know.
And I don't ever forget that now, because we had a connection, but she didn't have a lot of stuff. I did. I learned from it. Yeah. But I feel terrible, and I've reached out to her a few times, like, hey, how you doing? And I follow her on social media, and I make sure I like all her posts, and she's growing, and she's doing fantastic, and I'm so glad for it.
Nice. It'll come around.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
one way or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're all where we're meant to be, and if we're not happy with where we are, we better do something to get there.
That's it. Just I'd say never change the goal, just adjust the action steps.
Absolutely.
And you'll get there. You know what I mean? So I love that. I love that.
I got two things.
All right.
That I want to mention is one is we met this really fantastic person when we were out in Denver, and they were representing a company where they have .art domains.
Oh, absolutely.
So it might be a good idea. And they weren't very expensive. $10, $20.
And she was amazing.
She was so much fun.
She was amazing.
We've been chatting still.
You still keep up with her as well?
Yeah. And so definitely check out, I think localgood.art would be a good marketing. You know what I mean? So definitely check that out. And then if you find a way, you might be able to do something where if you do a show, you curate a show in, let's say you do it here in Pittsburgh, and see kind of how it goes. And then if you were to take that show and offer that as a print series where you could send out framed prints to like coffee shops or something like that, at like, hey, do this show for 2 weeks or a month or whatever, and you have it like already curated, and you're like, I know this show sells. That might be something that you could do something. Maybe it's a seasonal type thing or whatever, but maybe you have people like that are able to sign up, and maybe the stuff sells online. Maybe you have a QR code. Maybe that QR code is directly linked to that coffee shop so that they get a little cut. But there could definitely be a lot of different ways that you could kind of like make that at mass, but work with the team that you have.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
like
that's
that,
a good idea. I mean,
I ain't mad at that.
You touched on one thing that we mentioned a little bit earlier. Is our original vision for the site was this curation. We're going to curate, the artists, and we're going to talk about the medium, the artists themselves, and then the charity that they're working with. The idea was always about curations too. Even our blog posts at one point were called curations.
Yeah.
But we've always wanted to be able to, when we get a large enough community, to have somebody who we do think is an authority, on a certain type of art or a certain medium to be able to make those calls because we're both creative, but that we don't think that's our space. But if we could have somebody come in and say, oh yeah, I can put together exactly what we just talked about.
Right.
Put together a show, and how can we travel it around and get it, building community, getting people in spaces, connecting people. I think that's a great idea.
Actually, I might need to talk to her after the podcast.
We're like making lists of people.
Oh yeah. No, I may have opportunity for real soon. I actually just got offered to curate a space, and the artist I was supposed to be working with, I just found out I may not be working with. They may not be able to do it just because of time constraint, but I'm looking for some artists.
There you go.
Yeah, so it might be opportunity, and it's
Collaboration market.
Pretty nice space. Pretty nice space. So, and that's what I mean. These things are so important to sit down and talk about what you're doing with other like-minded people, and just as when you got started, you met person after person after person. It just felt right. I feel like this does the same thing. It just brings like-minded people around, and like-minded people usually do like things. Things that are alike, and so a lot of times you can definitely cross-pollinate the likeness. There's a better way of saying it. That's all I got, guys. That's all I got.
Hey,
that's all
it's
I got.
It's late, but it is about connecting dots. I mean, and honestly, that's what I do at work all day.
Yeah.
That's what I was able to leverage to bring to this community is how do you connect all those dots, because those connections are the most important thing. And that's what I think people forget sometimes. It's like you can't do anything alone. But if you start vibing off of each other and you start thinking about where do you want to go, where do you want to go, where do you want to go, and we start talking about it collectively, you can propel each other forward. And that's the part that I think is missing so much. And I want to see more of that. And I joke at work all the time. It's like, my mission is I connect people and I sprinkle kindness like confetti. Because there are too many, there are just too many people who are ruthless or cutthroat and all of that. And I'm like, I don't have the energy for that. I've always been somebody who thought it was important to treat people with a lot of love and respect.
Absolutely.
And it's hard, though. There are some days where people piss you off and it's hard.
I was just saying, it is so much harder to be a good person. It's so much more rewarding, but it is so much harder to be a good person. That's why I don't think a lot of people tend to go, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but people tend not to go that route because they follow the path of least resistance.
Well,
right?
it's going the extra mile sometimes is being nicer, kinder than you normally would, because it's really easy to say, I'm angry, I'm not going to help somebody out, I'm in a bad mood, or I don't believe in somebody else's idea, but if you do, then you get that back in
spades, man. You really do.
So much, right? Because, not like, I'm not saying that, I helped you, so you got to help me kind of thing, but just putting that out in the world, I think it really does circle back around.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to get it back from that person, and that's the part that I think people forget. You put it out there, it'll come back, it finds
100%.
you.
Absolutely.
But people forget that, and they're like, well, what about me? And they put themselves first. I'm like, that's the mistake.
Yeah.
You can't lead with that.
I tell people when they're starting out with a business venture, do good work, you'll get paid well. And it might not necessarily be, what you, your vision right ahead of it. But if you just focus on doing the good part and just keep doing that, replicating it and getting better, it doesn't necessarily have to be get paid well, but you'll get good out of it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I call it deferred compensation.
That's
pretty much where it's at, man. Deferred compensation. It's those things you do today. Like I think with Martin Luther King. Malcolm X has said, those that own the future put in the work today. So so you put in the work today. You don't judge the harvest by. What is it? You don't judge the harvest by the seed. You don't judge whatever it was. But anyways, you can't think of it as the harvest that you reap today.
Yep.
It's about the seed you plant today and the harvest you reap later in the future. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I live on. I know by planting these seeds today, there will be a day where I can enjoy the fruit. And it's a life thing. It's not just an art thing or a business thing. It's just how it works. You give without the intent to receive. You just give because you just give your best version of yourself.
Right.
And the best versions will usually come back to you. Maybe not right now, but you'll have more times when it's pleasant than not.
Well, I think that ties into just like-minded people attracting each other.
Yeah.
If you're putting yourself out there as a nice, helpful person, people are going to see that and they're going to be like, oh, well, I want to be around him and help them
Right.
out. And it's just kind of natural the way that
Absolutely.
coalesces.
100%.
Absolutely.
I'm upset at myself for not remembering that line from Hamilton that talks about
Yeah.
planting the tree.
I know. I'm thinking, it crossed my head. I was like, oh.
Listen to that like a billion times.
Hey,
I
if you
should
know
know.
it, leave it in the comment down below.
Absolutely. There was one I'm
Post
trying
the
to get
video.
off, and it didn't make its way through. It didn't make its way through. It wasn't meant
That's
to
all
be. Yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
That's all right.
But yeah, man. So I think the next step is to really talk where's this going, and where do you see it in the next few years? You know, where do you see yourself in everything that's going on? So.
Yeah, so one of the things with meeting Chris was he had to always slow me down because I've got a list.
Oh, you're a goer.
Like,
You-
oh,
you're-
yeah.
you're
I'm
one-
like 10
you're one
years
of those
ahead.
souls that are on fire.
Yeah,
And
and-
that's
and-
what I mean. It's like you're really, you can feel it.
Oh, and,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to hear people say that because there are days I'm like, do I sound crazy? I feel a little crazy?
You just go get it. That's all.
But it you know, it was starting with the artist. It was figuring out the charity. It was connecting to those shops.
Yeah.
And that way we could then build out the community. So I want Pittsburgh. We want to make sure we got Pittsburgh covered. All of those like-minded artists that are out there who are listening, like, reach out to us. All of the people who are wanting to support these artists, reach out to us. We want to get Pittsburgh. We want to get that down, right? Because then we want to replicate that in all the other cities.
Yeah.
And so we know there's a couple things artists need. One, they need to make sales. I mean, it is tough out there, and artists are really struggling. So we want to make sure we have audience to help buy up their work.
Absolutely.
We want to then also know that we could help them with managing their inventory. That's a big thing for artists. Like if they're going to be in multiple galleries, they're going to be at multiple places, you got to figure out how to help them manage all of that. So that's like
100%.
behind the scenes. I'm like, we got to manage that. We wanted to make sure we got a good
I
shop
was
that
looking
was
right
local.
over it. I was looking
because
right over there. I
I've
was
got
like, I got a
artists-
guy.
I've got artists who are selling their originals.
Yeah.
And I'm going, you need to start printing. Oh, they're like, I don't even know where to start. And so if we can help them with
Yeah.
being connected to somebody who would take care of them,
Yeah.
who understands what they need, then it's like maybe we reserve those, you know, those originals for something else. Like,
Right.
don't just go and sell your original and that's it.
Right.
It's gone. Once it's done, it's gone. And so I'm trying to remind them of that.
Yeah, and we could probably plug into your website in a way where, you know, once they pick the paper and the sizes and they have the files that are ready to print, I mean, people could just order on the
Yep.
site and
Yeah.
that order can come over to us. We fulfill it. Our shipping system automatically sends you guys tracking information with who went to whatnot. So it's a very easy process. But if they want to have prints to sell outside of your website, then that's definitely something that we can help them manage as well.
I'm excited because I was just
Yeah.
going to ask you to print some swag. I have some stuff. I didn't know I was going to
You
get
need
into
some, you need
this.
some canned
Yeah.
water.
Absolutely.
But-
I mean, here I am, like, all right, now what do I have to code after
Yeah.
this? One podcast, 7,000 lines. Okay, how do I? I'm not sleeping either.
No, but you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, though, we really do want that community because
Yeah.
we want, from the buyer's perspective, we want them, and we know people travel. We want them to have an easy button. They get to go in and they're like, all right, well, I'm going up to, you know, Kansas City this weekend, and they're checking out what shows are going on. They're checking out which galleries or shops are there. They're
Right.
checking out, oh, one of my favorite artists, their
Right
stuff
there.
is here. And so I want to make it easy for them. I want to make it easy for the artists because it's hard. I mean, when I hear these artists, every single one of them has a day job. And then they have to create. They've got
Absolutely.
families. And then they're trying to figure out social media. They're trying to figure out marketing. I'm like, I tell them all the time, let us do it for you.
Right.
And we don't charge for any of that. Anybody who's been on Facebook lately,
Right.
there's a site out there that is charging for the
Yeah, I see.
website,
Yeah.
Right.
charging for the marketing, charging for social media. We don't do that. You know why? Because they don't have the money.
Right.
They
Right,
don't have the
right.
money to pay all of that. So that's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of watching artists have to put out everything and get so little back.
Well, and I think the common thread of everything that you mentioned there is giving artists the room to create. You're not asking them to market themselves. You're not asking them to figure out printing and shipping. I mean, we're even talking about figuring out how to manage inventory across multiple places for them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, this is our future goal, is to give them the space to create.
Right.
You know, the mental capacity to create, put all this minutia which you don't want to have to figure out. We got that.
Yeah.
Just work on the art and be your passion and be creative.
I love that. The space to create. That's everything right there. You know, and that's what I mean. Here at 1028 Podcast, that's what I wanted to do as well. I wanted to create an environment where all you had to do was come and sit down, and we'll take care of the rest. You know, because what that does is that lets you do what you're best at and that you're most comfortable at. And if that's all you have to worry about, you're more willing to do that more and more. Yep. That means whatever you're creating will be more and more out there. So,
exactly.
And if it's bringing value to the world, then that means there's more value in the world because you don't have to do these other things. You can do the thing that you love to do. Yeah. I love that. That part right there was just that's everything. Giving them the space to create. Yeah, I love it. So, you know, where, for one, I want to see where can they, one more time, to let them know where they can get the newsletter at, because I'm just saying it's for them, it's for me. I think I also want to sign up. Awesome. That's where I'm at as well.
Awesome.
Like, I think we're going to seal the deal on this. I really enjoy if being a part of something, but also knowing where it stems from. In the minds, and that's what you were kind of saying with the artists, like them telling the story, hearing the backstory for this is like, okay, now I'm very.
It goes both ways. You're not just interviewing the artist to let them in, but the artists want to make sure that they're partnering with someone that's gonna.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, so if you go to local-good.com, you can sign the newsletter link is in the footer. The artist application is in the footer as well. So we'll talk after this.
Okay,
I'm
gonna do it right before y'all leave.
Yeah,
But
yeah, so I mean, anybody can go on this site, view the artist, view their different art, and sign up as an artist or an art space. Both of those are available just right on the web.
All right. That's dope. And is there any socials where they can find you at? Like, I know you're on all platforms, so is it the same on all platforms?
It is not, of course, because that would be way too easy.
It's too much like right.
I'm like, all right, where's my phone?
Okay,
I can tell you all of them.
I got you.
Most of them, you'll find us out there.
They're all in the footer, but there's a slight variation to some because of the username restrictions on a few.
It's like
got you.
Yeah.
So go to local-good.com. And then go to the very bottom of the website, and you'll find all the social media.
There you go.
Absolutely, that's the easy way to say
Josh. That's a pro right there. That's the pro move. I love it.
Footer. I'm like, I know what footer is.
Yeah. Oh man, Josh is like, you talking about code, and you're talking about just like the way a website is set up. Like if you go on to like PGH Print Ship, I've been seeing the evolution of it, just the user friendliness of it. So like you guys, that's a whole different field, and that's what I'm saying. If you're taking care of that part, like not just them using your website, but how they navigate it and all those other things.
And it's always evolving. You know, you're always trying to make it a little easier and make it a little bit more straightforward, because you want to be able to tell somebody, you know, no matter who comes to this site, whether they're young, old, whatever. Are they familiar with the web? Are they on their phone? Or on their computer? They should have a good experience.
Absolutely.
They should be able to get through and understand the mission, see the art, and hopefully make art.
See, that's a whole different art right there. That's a whole different art.
Yeah, the designers at my company, they're something else with that, being able to, think about how the users are going to approach a different issue in a different way.
I used to call it CO and SEM. Like instead of SEO and SEM, I had no idea what it was. Like I had no idea. CO. Yeah. I was like, "Are you talking about that CO's thing?" Yeah. I know what that is.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. Josh, you wanna close this out, my friend?
Yeah.
Start us.
For everyone listening, just thank you so much. We appreciate the platform. That it's not that we have a platform to give our guests; it's that you give us a platform for listening. So thank you so much. If anything here resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone, share it on your page, what have you. We appreciate all of that. If you want to find me personally, the best place to reach me is on Instagram, Josh Snyder 86. That's Snyder with an I. My print shop, pghprintship.com, and Thoughtful Discussions. We're on YouTube, everywhere you listen to podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And we appreciate you guys for being here.
Absolutely.
Corey, go ahead.
Absolutely. I want to go down the line. I just want everybody kind of give maybe that last little bit of word, little bit of wisdom. If you got any inspiration for those listening and those watching,
Yeah, so this is Chris Jesuits again, and you can find me, you can reach me at on Local Good if you hit up any of our social channels. But my main job, I'm the digital director at Landisburg Design. That's a tough one to spell. But yeah, you can reach me through Chris at landisburgdesign.com if you have any questions. I'm always, similar to how we got started with Desiree, me and Desiree together, I'm always here if anybody has questions about, digital, the web, anything like that. I'd love to be a resource of, hey, do you have a small idea, a big idea? What's the next step you should take? And I'm always available for that kind of stuff.
That's
so
beautiful.
Reach out if you need anything.
Absolutely.
And so I'm Desiree, and of course you could find me at localgood, so local-good.com, and email Desiree, Desiree, at localgood. So love to hear from any artist, even if you have questions, want to talk about it. If something did actually spark something in you, we'd love to hear it. But if there are also people who are interested in supporting this community, there's a lot of good artists out there, a lot of artists that we're starting to find and uncover. And we really do want to make this community grow, because I think there's a lot of like-minded people.
Yeah.
I used to say
Corey
there's a lot of
huge network.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of conscientious consumers, and I really want to make sure that we're reaching them, because we're trying to. They're not wanting to shop at the big box stores. They really do want to buy local. They really want local art. They want local restaurants. They want local everything, and we're trying to make it easy for them to find it.
Absolutely. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. And, when you guys were coming in today, it was more so, I was curious. Like, it was like me and Josh were talking, what do they do? I'm like, well, this is kind of the gist of it, but wanted to dig in more. But the conversation we had was so grand. I was like, we gotta record this. And I was like, I hit Josh up right after. And I think I got back to you probably within like an hour. Like, okay. It's going
It's
down.
meant to be.
And it's just more than what I even expected. So I just want to say thank you for all the hard work that you guys are putting in, all the sleepless nights, especially you, all the sleepless nights, for us to help us live our dreams as creatives, as artists, and as people like y'all that really help us do the thing that we do. And we just as a whole, just knowing that there's humans out there, there's individuals out there that are going hard for us to do what we love. Like, we appreciate that. I don't think you hear that enough, and I don't think you do it for that, but I just want to say we do. We do, and I can't wait to. I can't actually wait to work with you guys. I've talked to a few people that actually have. Well, one person that has, has dabbled with the site, and nothing but grand things to say about you as well. So this is going to be fun, and these are some of the skills that I need. It's one thing I know what I need to do. It's actually doing it with people that know what's going on. I think is important, and also, like, I really love the community aspect of it. I can't wait to kind of tap into, like, the other artists that are also involved. Do you guys have meetups as well? Is there any? Not yet.
Well, it's funny because we've talked about that, but we weren't sure if everybody was ready, and then some of the interns have started saying, like, we need to do that. So we just sent out a survey to the artists to ask what they were really needing, and we're figuring that we're going to start doing something of that sort. So it'll be virtual, because Corey, I love having the virtual environment, because it really is that level playing field. So it doesn't matter where people are sitting, doesn't matter their comfort level. But yeah, so it's on the list.
All right.
But and I do want to give you both a huge debt of gratitude, and for bringing us on, and for really showcasing what we're doing, because there are days where I'm like, behind the scenes trying to make it work, and then there are days where I'm like, oh yeah, let's start sharing it, because it is been a labor of love.
Well, the work that you put in, that's what got all of us here right now. So it's a beautiful thing, and
it's all building blocks.
It's all building blocks.
You can't just be at the end right away. You gotta work at it.
It's something that makes it sustainable too, right? Yeah. The harder it is to get it, the harder it is to lose it. For me, I feel like easy come, easy go. So, the joy is in the journey, man. It's in the journey. We're going to look back, and it's not going to be when you're there and you're at that spot you thought you can get to. It's going to be all the things that happen in between that actually makes it worth it. So, we're just adding value to the final product. That's all right here. But yeah, this is the 1020. This is Corey Ochoa, 1028 Podcast Studios. If you guys like what you're hearing, you like what you're seeing, feel free to contact me at 1028 on all platforms. 1028 Podcast on Facebook, Instagram. YouTube, and TikTok. I am a TikToker. Hello.
Get in when you can. Get in when you can. This place is about to be.
Yeah, it's going to be blowing up. Watch, I got some things coming. We got some things coming, and definitely, man. Thank you for listening to Thoughtful Discussion with Josh Schneider and yours truly. It's always a pleasure, Josh. Always a pleasure, and it just seems like every time we do this, right before I'm having the worst day, and everything feels like it's falling apart. But as this goes on, you understand it's falling together. You know what I mean? 100%. So I feel amazing. This is everything it was supposed to be, and thank you guys for listening, watching, and all of those things. We are out.